Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Jay Wise and Nathan Drinkard. I'm your host, Cody Ward. Thanks for spending some of your time with us tonight. What's going on, guys?
Let's talk some sports, baby.
This is
A Drink of Wisdom.
Well, the running backs were the only guys running off the new teams. Quarterbacks Darius Slay and Chris Harris Jr. found new homes this week. Darius Slay was traded to the Eagles for a 3rd and 5th round pick, and thanks to a contract extension, is now the highest paid corner in the league. Slay was traded after a vocal request for one, citing unhappiness with Lions coach Matt Patricia. Meanwhile, Chris Harris Jr. moves on from Denver as the last member of a secondary that helped win this Broncos Super Bowl 50. The former undrafted free agent inked a 2-year, $20 million deal with the Chargers, adding to a defense that's become pretty stacked. All right, Jay, which of these corners will provide more value to their team?
Well, first of all, I got to say, it's a sad day when Chris Harris leaves the Mile High City. You guys know I got great love for this guy, undrafted out of University of Kansas in 2011, and made himself into, one of the best cornerbacks in this league, and perhaps one of the most underrated of this decade.
I think he's the best slot cornerback in the league, bar none.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And you just consider what he's done with his career, and last year, considering the injuries the Denver Broncos dealt with in their secondary, he showed he can do more than just play the slot. He can play outside as well, although his best attribute is probably playing in the slot. That's probably where he's most comfortable and can really do a lot of damage. But I'm not going with Chris Harris in this scenario. I'm going with Darius Slay. And in regards to what you said in the lead-in, I'm not going to be mad at nobody, especially somebody like Darius Slay, for having problems and issues with Matt Patricia. Because let's be honest, we know the only reason Matt Patricia walking around with a head coaching job is because he one of them dudes that worked for Bill Belichick, hanging out, coaching that defense, got a pencil in his ear with laminated sheets out there. And just that's just how people get these jobs. We see it with Bill O'Brien down there in Houston. We talked about him a couple days ago. So I'm not mad at Darius Slay for that. And when I consider him moving on to Philadelphia, and now he's going to work for his old head coach that drafted him, and Jim Schwartz, who's a defensive coordinator over there in Philadelphia, I think that's incentive for us to see the best of Darius Slay in the upcoming season. And oh, by the way, we've talked about this plenty of times. That Philadelphia Eagles secondary last year, the year before, has been god awful. The only dude back there worth a dime is Malcolm Jenkins. And that dude just went on down to New Orleans. Now, maybe Rodney McLeod. Rodney McLeod's a nice player at that other safety position. But this is from the Eagles ESPN reporter, Tim McManus. He described that secondary as a blank slate heading into this offseason. I don't think he meant no harm in it. I think what he meant was we just got a lot of dudes leaving in free agency. And, with that being said, we just ain't got nobody under contract right now. But I interpreted it as they're just bad. Let me give you some of these names, what they've been dealing with. Avonte Maddox, Cravon LeBlanc, Rasul Douglas, and Sidney Jones. These are the type of dudes we've been watching out there for years. And that's not even including Jalen Mills, who was out there posing as a number one corner after Ronald Darby gets hurt. And oh, by the way, he's not going to be back as it appears. So if there was such a need, we talked about this last year at the trade deadline. Why couldn't the Eagles get themselves a defensive back to help these dudes and stop anybody? Because they couldn't stop a nosebleed back there. But you bring in Darius Slay, and what does that do for you? It gets you a bona fide corner who can automatically don't have to worry about one side of the field. What that does for you, it allows a guy like Jalen Mills to move to the number 2 corner position, and perhaps you can roll safety help to his side, and you can help him out a little bit more because you don't have to worry about Darius Slay on the other side of the field. He's going to handle his business. You also have to take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles up front. They got a nice pass rush. When I'm thinking about Fletcher Cox, I'm thinking about Brandon Graham and some of these guys. They can get pressure on the quarterback. I don't think the Lions for years now, I don't see the Lions amongst the league leaders in sacks ever. So could that perhaps put more pressure on your secondary? I think it does. And that's a testament to how productive and excellent Darius Slay was in his time in Detroit. So now with a good pass rush, that's going to help Darius Slay even more. So what I'm looking with this question, the combination of Jim Schwartz, the combination of the need that the Philadelphia Eagles had at this position, and that pass rush assisting the back end of that defense, it's Darius Slay for me. I'll give him a slight edge over Chris Harris.
So when we talk about this, it's certain cities that I think about in NFL where I'm just like, nobody wants to go there. Buffalo is the first one that comes to my mind. Detroit, cities like this. And the reason I bring it up is Darius Slay. No disrespect to Chris Harris. You heard what I just said. I can tell you right now, whether you want to say it or not, I think Chris Harris has been the best slot receiver in the NFL for years. I mean, when he gets in that slot position, he's going to shut whoever he's playing down. And I'm willing to give him that. But here's the deal. Darius Slay been just one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL for years. And the reason people have overlooked him, the reason people have, probably haven't gave him the respect that he deserved is because he plays in Detroit. It's like no one takes Detroit serious. It's like, all right, man, the Motor City, like who cares? I remember vividly watching a Pro Bowl practice years ago where he's going back and forth. I want to say it was DeAndre Hopkins. I'm really confident it was DeAndre Hopkins. He's going back and forth. They talking smack, and Darius Slay says that. He was like, hey, if I played in like Dallas or if I played in Green Bay or something, I get the respect I deserve. But I play down in Detroit, so guys tend to forget about me or the fans don't know who I am because I play in this blanket, franchise. So I'm happy for him. He finally gets to go over to a franchise where we know who the players are over there at the Eagles, even if they don't perform, Nelson Aguilar dropping babies. But either way, if he's going to a franchise where he can, build his brand, expand his brand, be one of the better players on defense. And God knows you done said this. They need it. They need all the help they can get in that secondary. I mean, they couldn't stop nobody with that secondary. Neither do I think they tried, now that I think about it. I don't know if they really tried or not. But neither here nor there, they need all the help they can get. And I'm happy for Darius Slay. I'm glad he's going back there to help that putrid defense. I'm not going to beat them up anymore. It is what it is. And listen, we knew when A.J. Boye got traded from Jacksonville to Denver, the writing was on the wall. You said it. We knew Chris Harris was heading on out of town. I do look at this as an opportunity that maybe he can make a bigger name for himself now. He can go over there to the Chargers. And listen, that defense on the back end could use some help to help, Derwin James back there or whatnot. So it's not like he's going to some ready-made, hey, just add water and stick it in the microwave defense here. He's going to have to put in some work. But I think it will help him give him that household name as an overall cornerback than just the slot cornerback as I look at him as. It will give him a chance to give him the overall product. But, yeah, man, I'm taking Darius Slay all day and 2 times on Sunday.
Yeah, for this one, guys, I mean, I would say it's pretty close to a tie, but I would say that, yeah, definitely Darius Slay is a guy that is more needed by their team. I think Jay's absolutely right with that. You're talking about a guy, again, man, those injuries were bad, and we saw some dudes doing things they should never be doing in that Philadelphia secondary because they were on TV a lot. I mean, they had a lot of national games because of that crazy dumpster fire playoff race where they had this like a snail race or something. It was horrible, Oh. And yeah, that whole secondary, they got forced into all this zone coverage and whatnot. With Jim Schwartz had to just rip all the paper off the wall and make it up as he went because there was no one out there. Well, you get a guy like Darius Slay, that whole thing changes. I mean, one player like that can just change. It can change everything. It can change your play calling, and like you said, your pass rush starts getting there. You got a little bit more coverage. Hey, it also works the other way. If you got a little bit better coverage, your pass rush has more time to get there if the quarterback's holding on to the ball. So there's always a link there, and this takes a ton of pressure off some of those guys that they were using, and they can get back to doing what they should be doing, which is being a lot of them being role players. But yeah, the other problem with the other thing with the Darius Slay trade is the Matt Patricia era, man, is just continuing. The arrow was down when he got there, and that arrow just is still going down. I haven't really liked anything I've saw out of that. I don't like that they spent the whole offseason building the Patriots West, I guess you would call it. Can't really call it South, yeah. But they're signing a lot of these dudes from the Patriots, these whatever guys. That some of them are good, some of them aren't. Whatever the case is, you're 6-10. The year before, now you're 3-12 this past season. You've been in the basement of the NFC North. You're just wasting Matt Stafford. Y'all retire Calvin Johnson early. I mean, good Lord. It's just – and this guy has done nothing. And now you're running off, like, franchise players. I mean, we can call Darius Slay a franchise player, right? And you go in there, and I read something that Darius Slay wrote or said that, one of the first things he heard from Matt Patricia was, oh, well, you're not elite. Dude, even if you think that, why are you going in there and telling the man that? And I guess they were clowning him in team meetings and stuff. I mean, there's a couple articles on it. That's just if you want to read some crap, man, go read it. It's ridiculous.
What's Bill Belichick teaching these guys? You got Bill O'Brien out here talking about Aaron Hernandez, and then his first words are, "You're not elite." Like, what is going on?
I don't know.
To that point, these Bill Belichick. The guys that work for Bill Belichick that get head coaching jobs, they must just come in all high and mighty, like they didn't done something. You ain't like when you come in as a rookie head coach, you ain't done nothing at that level. No one cares about what you did as an assistant. Obviously that's one of the things we can look at in terms of coming in with your chest too far out. And, talking about, oh, you not this. Well, man, you don't even look like a head coach. You ever met a razor?
Yeah,
come on, man.
What are you?
Hey, come on now.
What are you?
But yeah.
You're not a head coach, though. Why you think Rob Ryan couldn't get a job?
Oh, man. But yeah, it's that whole situation's rough, and I'm glad that a player like him got out of there and is going to go to a team that desperately needs him. I mean, we remember the Eagles were talking about Jalen Ramsey, back during the regular season. They were a big candidate to trade for him, so they've been looking for help for a while, and they finally got it. But there is work to be done in that secondary. And yeah, for the Chargers, I like that now, man. That defense is getting really good. I mean, you got serious talent at every level. You added Linval Joseph to go alongside Joey Bosa. You got Melvin Ingram and Denzel Perryman running around in the middle, round out that front seven. And then now you add, Chris Harris in with guys like Derwin James. I mean, yeah, the corners aren't as good. You got a lot, Desmond King's always hurt. You got a couple other guys that are filling in, but they were pretty good. And now you're going to get Chris Harris added to that backfield. That defense is going to carry a lot of water. We're talking about a team that we don't know what they're doing with Tyrod Taylor or whatever quarterbacks they're messing with, but that defense can carry some serious water. And I hate to give Gus Bradley any credit, but man, he's been doing a good job. I mean, he really has been with that team. And you got to think this is the best unit he's had to date. So if you're a Chargers fan, you got to think that defense, they're ready to carry some water, and Chris Harris is going to be a big part of it going into next year.
And to that point, I really like what they're building out there as far as that defense. And to the original question, I wouldn't say I don't look at Darius Slay, especially defensively, as a better player than Chris Harris. I think what you said in your opening, that it's probably about a tie, and I probably at this stage would give a slight edge to Chris Harris. But again, it's about the need for Philadelphia. And one guy we haven't brought up was Casey Hayward for the Los Angeles Chargers, who a year ago, he was an all-pro, led the league in interceptions. So he's another guy we can't forget about. But also as far as the Chargers, you lost Phillip Rivers, you lost Melvin Gordon. So I understand you're bringing Hunter Henry back, and we like some of those wide receivers. But I got serious questions about their offense going forward. And we've seen, and, a Jaguar fan can probably attest to it the most. A bad offense can really wear down and bring down a great defense. A great defense can only, at some point, it's only going to take you so far. So that's another thing I'm concerned about. As good as that Charger defense is, I'm not sure if they'll be able to be enough to elevate that offense.